The whole Liam Kumar Day effect, not really happened.
Nigel couldn't make it.
Yeah.
I've rang up Mendon all, he said he could make it.
Don't dig this hole. Phil, credit to the guy, he always manages to do well what he has, but he is a shocking person right now. You guys got a trophy? No.
It was pre-bit.
No, my life from Rashad Mendon.
Right, you guys, I'm a tag jack! I'm a fucking tag!
And it's we're heading into week 6. We're rapidly rolling through the LOC season. We're now over a third of the way through. In fact, at this point, I guess, of recording the show, 16 weeks, heading into week 6. Starting to get interesting in the LOC, and I've got the guest that's been on. He was on earlier in the season. He's been away for a while, but he's back. It's Coach Sherwood, team ambassador nonetheless. Coach Sherwood of IKNAN. How's it going, Coach?
Everybody get hyped. Yeah, it's going pretty well. I mean, things haven't been going great, hence my absence. But you know, third of the way through the season, I've got rid of all of my losses. 12-3, 3 losses down. We're fine. It's going to be
I was going to say, I think you did the first few episodes of the podcast. And as you start, I think your first loss or around your first loss, that's when you dropped out. And,
yeah, I mean, coincidence? I don't think.
Maybe being on the podcast has led to your winning. Who knows? Maybe we'll see this week.
Yeah, probably not.
We've got a good show for you today, as always, and we'll get to the laundry list of injuries in a second. Well, hey, while we're waiting, let's get straight to the league news. So, yeah, as I said, once again, we have a laundry list of injuries, it seems. So let's start off with the detonators. Let's see, the starting lineup actually looks pretty clean, amazingly. Carlos Williams is still expected to miss another week with a concussion. He has not yet to be cleared to play. But other than that, looks like a clean bill of health. On the Dream Team side, Leonard Hankerson suffered a rib injury in Sunday's game, but it's nothing serious. He even came back to the game, I think, so he should be good to go. Martavis Bryant, he has been activated off the reserve now. He remained on it for all of last week because he tweaked his knee earlier in the week, so they got a 1-week grace to take him off. So he has now been activated for Pittsburgh and for the Dream Team. LaShawn McCoy returned to practice on a limited basis today, I saw. Don't know how significant that is of his Sunday status, but we shall see. How big is getting LaShawn McCoy back to the Dream Team?
Oh, yeah. I mean, absolutely fantastic for them. It's one of those things, I think we've had a lot of big injuries, and as people start to get back, because they can't get injured again, we'll see an influx of better games, really. Because, yeah, a lot of people have struggled because of injuries, and LaShawn McCoy is a big one for them.
Yeah. So moving on to Pakistan now, Marshawn Lynch has obviously missed the past 2 games with a litany of leg injuries. Report is he practice limited, and the expectation is he will come back this Sunday. Big for Pakistan. Randall Cobb continuing to suffer with that shoulder injury there. He has actually been less effective the last few weeks, and some out there have kind of thought it's because possibly of this shoulder injury. So he's not going to miss any game, but just something to ponder. Other than that, Ben Roethlisberger, he was pushing to return to practice this week, but I believe they're going to hold him out for at least a few more weeks. Crockett Gilmore, unclear what is going on with his calf right now. Honestly, I thought it was a day-to-day injury when I traded him to Pakistan. Still yet to practice, I think. So we'll see what happens with him this week.
Absolute scumbag move from Nate.
Hey, I put in
this guy had your... Sorry, Pat. Oh, did I screw you over there? No worries.
Hey, I didn't get off much better than that. Steve Johnson has also been injured, so...
wasn't there some kind of clause that if they stayed injured, you could trade back?
Yeah, the clause was on Pat's half. If it was a multi-week injury, he could reverse it. He's decided not to enact that clause, so...
Because Johnson is injured.
Yeah, it's not much to gain, right?
Yeah.
Right, moving on to Andy Dalton Red Zone. I believe they've got a pretty good bit of health. Steve Smith should return this weekend after suffering that rib injury a few weeks ago. Who else have we got? Victor Cruz continuing to miss time with that calf injury. Still no timetable for his return. Other than that, they're okay. We've had some pretty healthy teams so far. This is positive. This is good. So moving on to Ford Flyers. Let's see. Tyrod Taylor, quarterback, who's made 2 spot starts for them the past 2 weeks. He has MCL sprain, and he is expected to miss this weekend, despite being a limited participant today. Other than that, I think they're okay. Moving on to Jeff Seals. Alshon Jeffrey continues to miss time with some random calf hamstring. I don't know what. The Bears have been oddly communist Russia about injuries this season, or North Korea, I should say, and haven't let anything slide. So our best guess of when he'll play is on Sundays. Other than that, I think they're doing okay health-wise. So we'll move on to your team at Mr. Sherwood, IKNAN. Let's see. Andre Ellington obviously returned last weekend from his knee injury, so he should be fine this weekend too. And other than that, I think you're actually doing okay. Good job.
I think Dwayne Bowe might be a bit questionable still, because I think last week he should have played to inactive at the last minute.
From what I've heard on Dwayne Bowe, and I'm amazed, quite frankly, he's even still on your roster, is that he has been a healthy scratch for multiple weeks this season. So yeah, no injury per se. They just aren't activating him because they don't want him to play. Make of that what you will. Moving on to the homosexuals, Odell Beckham suffered a hamstring injury in Sunday's game. He is considered day-to-day. Possible he suits up this week. Moving on, Brandon Cooks he's had an ankle injury for a few weeks now, but I don't think his status is in any doubt for this weekend. Sammy Watkins should make a return from that calf injury he suffered a few weeks ago. And other than that, they're looking good. Onto my team now. This is where half of the injuries account for, of course. Eddie Lacy continuing to struggle with that ankle injury. Hasn't kept him off the field. He will play, but unclear if he'll be effective. Steve Johnson, hamstring injury, did not play last weekend. These things have a tendency to linger, as we will see in a second with another player on Gridiron's Gang's team. I would put him highly questionable for Sunday. Speaking of the other player, Deshaun Jackson still hasn't played since that hamstring injury in week 1. He's ramping up the practice, could return this week, but would not surprise me if he misses another week. Jordan Reed suffered that concussion and MCL sprain, not the week gone, but the one before. He's had a history of concussion issues, so he is out, I guess, indefinitely until we hear anything else. And a little bit of news on the reserve spot here. Brandon LaFell was seen on the field practicing, catching passes and running routes before the game against Dallas on Sunday. So he's on the PUP right now, so he can't come back till week 7. But when he does, it looks like he'll be ready to come back straight away. Moving on to the Tuckfards, they're looking pretty good, I think. Vernon Davis missed another game with that knee injury. I think he did start ramping up the practice, so he should return soon. Other than that, I think they're all good. Just a little bit on Joseph Randall. I saw a report earlier that he's Christine. They're going to start into mixing Christine Michael for the role that Joseph Randall has had. They may even possibly start him. Joseph Randall hasn't been wildly effective this season outside of a few big runs. He's really been stuffed quite a lot. So taking the bye week to do a few changes there. Obviously, Matt Castle was also announced the start today for Brandon Whedon. Anyway, I digress. Back to the injury stuff. Going on to bare necessities. Andrew Luck should return from his shoulder issue that has caused him to miss the past 2 games. I'm pretty confident he will play on Sunday. Mike Wallace, I think he had some sort of knee injury, didn't practice, but I think he's day-to-day, and I would expect him to probably play on Sunday. He's coming off of a bye week. Other than that, I think they're all good. And our final team here, and then we can get on to something more interesting. Tom's Tyrants. Julio Jones expected to play on Thursday. He's been battling leg injuries all season long, and some thought he might miss this Thursday's game due to the short week. But I'm told he is expected to play, although he may be on a snap count. Des Bryant, He's obviously they're on a bye this week, but it's very possible, extremely optimistic, very possible he returns following the week 6 bye. So how big is Des Bryant for coming back for Tom's Tyrants?
Don't know. Depends how fit he is coming back. Because I've had quite a few who have been absolute wankers. So I don't want to go out on a limb at all on how well any wide receivers can do. But his wide receiver is.
Yep, sure. Yep, finally, and Tevin Coleman returned from that rib injury that caused him to miss a couple of games. Wasn't really used on Sunday. The emergence of Devontae Freeman, it's unclear what his role is now, but he should be active at least again for Sunday. So, hooray, we got through the injuries. A lot quicker than the usual 20 minutes. I feel like I'm talking about it. Yeah. So we'll get to the waiver moves, and predictably, less injuries means less waiver moves. Although one big one I did miss actually, because I'm looking on this week's teams. Obviously, is ADRZ. Have obviously lost Jamal Charles, probably the biggest injury of all. Would be criminal to ignore that. Tore his ACL in Sunday's game, so he will miss the rest of the season, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Right, now back onto the waivers. So first off we have Ford Flies added Andre Johnson and dropped Darius Haywood-Bay. Thoughts on this one?
I've had brushes with Haywood-Bay in the past. He's always been a little bit underwhelming. Presumably he's been underwhelming this season, and therefore is not the choice. But, I mean, it's really like wide receiver 3 kind of territory, isn't it? Is it wide receiver?
Yeah, wide receiver. Andre Johnson. He has been. This is not over exaggerating. He has been non-existent through the first 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Had a big week against Houston, but I mean, how much of that is playing his former team? How much is that? Matt
the 1 week
Hasselbeck,
wonder.
Yeah, exactly. Matt Hasselbeck perhaps liking him a bit more as a target. Who knows? But hey, he had a big week. I guess worth a punt. Darius Haywood-Bay figures to take a step back with Martavis Bryant returning, so fine. Ben Necessities,
on the bench, I mean, what difference does it make whether you have potential or which one do you go for?
Yeah, exactly. Ben Necessities added Charkandrick West and dropped Alex Smith, obviously with Jamal Charles being injured. Rumor has it Charkandrick West will fill in the majority of the role. It's going to be a committee between him and Al Davis, but what is the coach just like Charkandrick more than they do now, so he figures to step in for most of the work or more of the work. Pakistan added Richard Rogers and dropped Owen Daniels. Gridiron Gang re-added Shane Vereen and dropped the New England Patriots defense. Andy Don Red Zone added Theo Riddick and dropped Jamal Charles. Gridiron Gang added Darren Sproles and dropped Derek Carrier. Andy Don Red Zone added Blake Bortles and dropped Russell Wilson. You want to talk about this one? I raised my eyebrow a little when I saw this.
You can deal with this one.
Huh?
You can deal with this one.
I can do this one. Okay, cool. So Russell Wilson, he's been struggling the first few weeks of the season. He's put up okay scores. You'd like more, but they're okay. Largely born because that O-line has not been good. That trade for Max Unger going to the Saints in return for Jimmy Graham has not looked good because not only has Graham not really made much of an impact, but Max Unger, his loss is definitely being felt. So Wilson is on course to take a career high amount of sacks. So it's not good. But Blake Bortles, actually, make of it what you will. Yeah. By no stretch of the word is he winning a good NFL quarterback. But for fantasy purposes, I'm just running down his score here. He got only 11 points in the first week. But ever since, he's been over 20. 25, 20, 21, 36, a 4-touchdown game last week, which was his career high. I mean, the Jags figure to be losing in most games, which is the case more often than not. So, sure. I mean, if he's playing well enough to be fantasy relevant, I can, after looking into it, I can certainly understand why he made the move. Moving on, Pakistan added Atlanta Falcons defense and dropped New York Giants defense. Gridiron Gang added Vinatieri and dropped Josh Lambo, but then they proceeded to add Christine Michael and dropped Adam Vinatieri. Half the news of Christine Michael's possible starting. So it's the waivers, not many this week, not many.
Yeah.
Just some last little team news. This was a thing I did in last week, more like a coaching milestone kind of update. So this week we saw Coach Merritt win his 55th regular season game. Not only 3 away from 60 all-time wins now, so he still leads the league in wins. Coach Tom Barnes is 1 win away from 50 regular season wins. What else went down?
How many am I on? 30?
You are on 40 wins. Just getting to you. Yeah, you've won 40 regular, all-time and regular season. What else is here? Yeah.
Something about my fucking playoff ability.
Playoff record, yeah. Coach Nathwani has, fresh off another loss, his win record now stands square .500, so he's 32-32 in his career. What else is here? Other than that, not a lot on that front, so we'll just dive straight into the weekly recap. So a lot of good games again last week. It looked like the weekend was going to be horrible, but it actually turned out to be a pretty nice week. And I think the marquee matchup is the one that's right in front of me here, the one I took part in, no less. Gridiron Gang against Forge Flyers. The history in this matchup has been very one-sided. Entering this game, Gridiron Gang were 8-2 all time against Forge Flyers, so a pretty good record, you might say. And it was a close one, boy. It was. If you look at the game chart, they were tied all game long. But Gridiron Gang Monday night came back. The kicker won it for them, 118-114. Your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, it looks like a good one. Chris was obviously a bit salty over the Facebook chat that you would be, as with every close game. But yeah, you've got some good performances there, especially Demonte Freeman. Is that it? Demonte Freeman? Devontae. There we go. Some shit. I know. Demonte Freeman and Rawls as well. Actually, I mean they're pretty much going toe to toe on that one. And almost across the board, actually, is fairly consistent. Who did well, stacking up against each other. But yeah, so unlucky for Chris, and he could have done with a break. But these things happen. It's pretty bullshit, but
it happens. And as we'll see in a bit, Ben Necessities have been 0-4 in the highest scoring team. So these weeks happen, and that's no more true than the next game we're going to look at, the Roman Sexuals against Tom's Tyrants. Entering this game, Homosexuals had never lost to Tom's Tyrants. One of the few teams to be able to boast about that after a few seasons in the league. Only 2-0, mind. Records obviously began in 2010 for our purposes. So, yeah, whatever.
But never mind.
So they were 2-0. And this was an interesting game. These teams were both 2-2. And it was the highest scoring game of the week and the closest game of the week too. Homosexuals won it 129-127. Thoughts on this game?
Yeah, another really close one. It's interesting to watch the Homosexuals sort of come back because all the Toms come at once. So you sort of see that staggered.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I've been quite impressed with Ross's team. I think this whole season and he's pretty consistently picking the right players, which is obviously something that not everyone manages. But yeah, I mean, Tom's got some very strong performances there. Probably, I mean, Doug Martin getting 33 points is probably a little unusual, but you need to get some explosiveness to get 127 points, and again, going forward, both of the teams look strong because of that.
Sure.
They've got good records now.
Yeah, definitely. Both these teams look very good. 2 very nice weeks in a row for Tom's Tyrants. A nice bounce back week for the Rome Sexuals, and a nice win as well. And obviously they are now 3-0 in some Tyrants. And I forgot to mention I'm now 9-2 against Chris. So one of the most lopsided in the league. So now let's. We sorry for if that was a weird edit because we've just had Coach Merritt of the Tuckfards join us. How's it going, Coach?
It's going good. Sorry for being so late.
So not a problem. Right off the bat, I knew this would be a good idea. Right. So yeah, we were just getting to your game, no less, against the Dream Team. Entering this matchup, you were 3-3 all time against old Viv. So barring an unforeseen tie, the winner of this matchup would go on to hold the overall in the history. It was a relatively close game, bit of a low score. You won 97-88. Thoughts on this game?
Yeah, it was fairly low scored. But this was the week where the Tuckfards didn't have Adrian Peterson, and
You've been preparing.
their other starters didn't score that big, but big performances there from some of the lesser guys, from Robinson and the Cards, but most importantly, my man Gaza Barnage.
Oh God!
10 out of 10.
With
What a
another
choice, Phil,
game
what a choice.
performance.
Only you would pick up a tight end. No. Only you would pick up a 30-year-old journeyman tight end that plays for the Browns and have him become fantasy relevant.
To be fair, I did discover Jordan Cameron as well back in his rookie year, if anyone remembers.
That's like so much less worse than Gary Barnage. I can't even.
There's so much
Play.
potential rather than so much like
Yeah,
reasoning
he
why
was
the
like
guy shouldn't
20
do well.
Yeah, he was like 24. Rob Chudzinski, who came from Carolina with Greg Olson, tight end friendly scheme, and now it's like it's John DeFilippo, and he's 30, and Josh McCown is the quarterback, and they're just the train. Anyway, I digress.
Anyway, if anyone saw it though, he actually had a tremendous game.
I will
The catch
admit-
he made for a touchdown was just ridiculous.
I will admit that catch was pretty cool. On the Dream Team side of the ball, they've been struggling a bit of late. Ben, do you want to talk about the Dream Team a bit?
Yeah, I mean, obviously a slightly stronger performance across the board in the QB, RB kind of positions, because Fawcett turns in 23 points, pretty good. But his wide receivers are struggling a bit. 5 points for Garcon, 1 for Hankerson, although I think he did go out halfway through the game, and Floyd as well. I mean, we'll see how it goes. Like I say, LaShawn McCoy's back, as we said in the injury roundup. So
Yeah.
hopefully that'll be a good reason for him to sort of make a bit of a comeback for the season. But yeah, it's not looking as strong as perhaps it could.
We'll mosey on right to our next game here. Jeff's Seals against the Detonators. This matchup, I believe, has only happened once before. Indeed, it has, and the Detonators took that one, so technically 1-0 against Jeff Seals all time. But Jeff Seals, auto-managed team now, as we know. I'm just putting in the projected highest score. But they managed to take this one. Another low score, 86-74. Your thoughts on Jeff Seals on this one, Phil?
Well, they had a nice week. Again, low scoring. Aaron Rodgers didn't come up, but Le'Veon again, very sort of won him the game. But I think we've touched on this before, that aside from Bell and Rodgers, really there's not a lot, maybe apart from Edelman.
I was going to say Edelman does all right,
and Jeffrey when he comes back.
Edelman was
Amari
probably the difference between the two teams this week. I mean,
yeah.
that performance was very good against Dallas. But Detonators, I think, struggling definitely.
This is what I said though. Like I think they had a 3-1 record.
Yeah, they were 3-1, 2-1, 3-1. Yeah.
Yeah, and they had the lowest, and they had like 30 points less than the top performers. And so it was a bit of one of those, it's like the opposite of what Ben and Necessities have been going through, of having like lucky matchups rather than unlucky matchups.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's underlying there's a slight weakness which isn't really reflected in the 3-2 win to loss.
Sure. Yeah, they've had troubles at quarterback, obviously Manning.
Yeah.
You know, some reporters even asked Gary Kubiak if he would bench Manning this week, so this is the extent it's got to. But hey, when that happened last year to a certain Tom Brady, look what happened, so you never know. So this matchup is 1-1 all time now, and just backtracking a bit, Tuckfards are now 4-3 against the Dream Team. So our next game here, Pakistan against Bare Necessities. Obviously, no game in this one before, clean slate. So the winner would hold the first win over the other here. And there wasn't a greatly interesting game, 91-70 in Bare Necessities' favour. But I think we can all agree, long overdue, deserved victory for Bare Necessities.
Absolutely. But I have to say, Pakistan. I mean, you mentioned in there, the league story that the injuries were getting to him a bit. I think his current plight is actually a little bit draft, little bit to do with his draft kicking in. There's not a great deal of talent. I've always said this on Pakistan's draft. He did have a nice few weeks, but I think his poor draft is now sort of beginning to sort of show. 70 points this week not being great, and that cost him against Bare Necessities, who definitely deserved the win after his really good 4 weeks.
They did, but funnily enough, I think this is probably the worst score he's put up, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It is, but there's not a lot. There's not a lot there. In oh, what Bare Necessities? Sorry, yeah, Bare Necessities. I thought that was yeah.
No, I think this is the lowest score that Bare Necessities.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
and their first win. That's brilliant.
Necessities, I mean, 91 is by no means a bad score, and actually it's quite impressive that it's been their lowest score so far. So they finally got a win. They're 1-4, and they're 1-0 all time against Pakistan. Final game here is IKNAN against ADRZ, and ADRZ had a leg up in this one, 3-2 all time against IKNAN, and this was another definite contender for game of the week. A real close one, 105-103 to ADRZ, who now lead the entire league. Thoughts on this one, Ben?
Yeah, it's a bit painful. Obviously, when we went into the Monday game, it was he was ahead by 30 points? I think he'd
35 or something, yeah.
Yeah, and I needed Antonio Brown and Philip Rivers to turn up the books, and they just fell short. Mm-hmm. But Eli Manning had a very, very good week. Gurley did pretty well. Hearns, whatever. He's got a very good team. Mm-hmm. Again, my bloody kicker and defense put together 40 points, just having outstanding performances all round. And it's really been my wide receivers that have been letting me down. I mean, the running back weakness was always a bit of a problem, but we're at the point now where I've got Foster, Ellington, Jones, and Bernard. And so I have some choices there, and it's just literally my wide receivers are not doing what they were promised. What you'd expect going in. To the point where Anquan Bolden has been the right choice, nearly half time, maybe 3 times, where you should have chosen Anquan Bolden over Mike Evans or something. So I'm a bit disappointed with my team, but at the same time, if they can sort their fucking lives out, then we'll have a hell of a team, and we might go on a whatever it is, 9. What am I supposed to do? 9 win streak or something? Now, no, 10 win streak. No worries. No fucking worries. Brilliant.
Well, 10. Is it 10 wins? What are we at? Yeah. 2 and 3. No, 9. That would be impressive if you got 10 wins in the regular season with 9 left to go. So.
Yeah. Well, that's how I roll.
And credit to you this week, you got the quarterback decision right, which I would be mortified if you got wrong, considering Cam Newton was on a bye. ADRZ, ADRZ though, the biggest thing we take away, nice win, but they lost Jamal Charles. Your view of their team now, Phil?
I think he's found a nice replacement in Todd Gurley. Actually, this has proven to be quite an astute draft pick. He's really caught fire. But there's options on the bench. Frank Gore. So by no means is this season-ending or season-dooming loss for Andy Dalton's red zone. But to lose Jamal is And to cut him as well, I didn't like that. Put him on your reserves.
Why wouldn't you cut him? He's missing the entire season.
He's
We're not
a
keeping league
special
anymore.
player. Don't put him on your reserves. Don't cut the guy. Jamal Charles should not be on the waivers, even if he was dead.
Dude's
What
got
is
a
an
torn
astounding
knee
recovery?
ligament.
I'm saying
What is an outstanding recovery, Nate? Have you saw that?
I'm saying
Phil will pick him up.
This
He
is
should
where
come back
this
3 weeks time.
this is where Phil picks him up. We decide to go back to a keeper league for some reason, and then he
Yeah,
keeps.
exactly.
Anyway,
That's
shut up. If there's one team that can withstand the loss, I think it is probably ADRZ.
Yeah.
They've got some pretty good RB depth. Anyway, so let's take a look at the standings real quick, and then we'll get on to the power rankings. So Southampton division shaping up to be a really interesting one. No one's a front runner, and arguably the best team is at the bottom. The Detonators 3-2 at the top, with Tom's Tyrants and the Dream Team at 2-3 behind, and Ben SSD's at the bottom, 1-4. The highest scoring of the lot, though. Portsmouth division, Andy Dalton red zone. He looks like he's poised to run away with this almost. He's 4-1 right now. Highest amount of points scored in the league. Jeff Seals is right behind him at 3-2, but I think everyone doubts their ability to keep up the winning ways they've been having. Palestine in at 2-3, and then Ford Flies down at 1-4 at the bottom. And at the bottom division, Winchester, something no one ever expected to see. Gridiron Gang at 4-1 on a 3-win streak, no less, leading the division right now. Followed closely by the Tuckfards and the Homosexuals, who are both at 3-2, and who have both outscored Gridiron Gang, funnily enough. And then IKNAN at the bottom, 2-3, who have outscored everyone in the division. So this is, I don't think anyone would be shocked to see the wildcard team come from this division, really. That's the standings. We'll get onto the power rankings real quick. I'll just run down the names in the order, and you guys go ahead and debate your way about, have a mass debate about what you think of these. So ADSE at number 1, they've done it. They've risen to number 1. Homosexuals at number 2. Ben SSD's at 3. Tom Tyrants at 4. The Tuckfards at 5. IKNAN at 6. Gridiron Gang at 7. The Ford Flies at 8. The Detonators at 9. Jeff Seals 10. Palestine going down to 11. And the Dream Team moving down 1 to 12.
Yeah, I had a scan through that, obviously, and I think that's pretty much broadly right. I expect that if I lose next week, I want to be in 12th. I don't care what you think about the integral structure of the team. They failed me. Fuck them. I might drop them.
Well, I never like putting anyone 12th, so I'll take you off on that.
If I lose, 12th.
I think this is relatively accurate of where everyone is in the league. I possibly think the Forward Flyers are a little bit high. And Jeff Seals, I think you're a little bit unkind putting them all the way to 10th, although they didn't have the greatest weeks. They still won, and they still look like a decent team, despite what we said about their sort of depth issues. Other than that, I think I agree broadly.
Sure. And right before we get to next week's previews, go check out the league poll that I just posted. And it hasn't even updated on that page. Will ADRZ win their division? Yes or no? Simple question. Right, so let's get to the next juicy part of the podcast, as if there wasn't a juicy part of the podcast, and we'll get to the next week's matchups, week 6. As we've said, we're entering into the second third of the season, so getting to mid-season now. The mid-season game is just as important as any other. And our marquee matchup here, just scanning along it, I don't think there's any argument. The Gridiron Gang against the Tuckfards.
Oh, what a game!
Matchup this week.
What a game!
All time. Tuckfards have dominated this matchup. They are 7-2 against Gridiron Gang all time. So it's a pretty one-sided matchup in the history books. Obviously, Gridiron Gang 4-1 right now, leading the Winchester division. Tuckfards with a win would unseat them, while Gridiron Gang with a win would obviously put further separation between themselves and the division. So lineup changes in this one. Lamar Miller comes back into the starting lineup for Tom Rawls, who obviously had the great game last week. Golden Tate kicks into wide receiver 2 with Vincent Jackson on a bye. And Shane Vereen, recently re-added, is currently in the flex. No kicker right now either. On the Tuckfards side of the ball, Adrian Peterson comes back in the lineup off the bye, and you kick Alan Robertson to the flex. And drop. Who did you drop to your bench? Joseph Randall, who's on a bye now. So projections in this one currently have Tuckfards taking it 122 to 104 without Granada's kicker. Thoughts on this game?
I'll go first, and I'll let Ben sort of being the neutral in this, because I think honestly we'll both take each other's teams.
Undoubtedly.
Absolutely. So, my thoughts on this game. This is such a big game in the LAC. Nath hates this matchup. He always has sort of like nice weeks and loses, or he has really bad week. I have really bad weeks and still ends up losing.
That is accurate.
It is absolutely accurate. This game though, it's so close. And the fact that it's so close, the divisional rivals, and they're so close together in the rankings, just adds up the ante for this game. It's going to be a tremendous one. From a Tuckfards perspective, there are some juicy matchups here, and I'm feeling quite confident. Gridiron gang wise, I think the same. Probably there's some juicy matchups. I like how your kicker is remaining empty for the second game in a row.
I'm playing mind tricks, Phil. I'm not. You're not gonna know what's coming.
You're doing sort of like Phil tactics now.
I'm doing Belichick tactics, man.
Bill Belichick. Well, technically, I am the Bill Belichick of the league, so.
Never say that again. Ben, let's swiftly get into your analysis before me and Phil go blow to blow.
Indeed. I don't know. You both got good lineup on both sides, I think. I'm slightly thinking that Phil's team is looking a little bit stronger at this point. Some of his power players, when you stack up your power players versus his, I think that I generally give his the edge. I mean, not having a kicker is a bit of a poor one. I mean, for me, that's 16 points a game, so you should probably consider finding one. But other than that, I think I'm going to have to give the edge to Phil. But I think it will be close. I think you'll both score. Well, I think you'll probably both score over 100. Although I reserve the right for you to score 40 points each. And,
Great.
The worst game of the season.
Sure. Some other things here that I missed. Both of these teams are on a league high 3-win streak, so one of these will extend it to a 4-game win streak. And on your comment of the stronger team, I would argue that I've probably got the better top 3, whereas Phil probably has the better overall starting roster. Agree with that, guys?
No, but there you go.
I've got Brady, Lacey, and Hopkins. Screw you. Anyway. Our next game here, Ben Acestes against Tom's Tyrants.
Mate, Alan Robinson. It's all about the Alan Robinson, man. He's the big and Gaz Barnage. Like,
oh yeah, Gaz Barnage is going to do that every week now.
He's playing Denver. He's going to get the floor wiped with him anyway.
Ron's going to be sitting there like, fucking hell. How do I get as good as this guy?
Right. Ben Acestes against Tom's Tyrants before we descend into any more anarchy. Ben Acestes are 2-3 against Tom's Tyrants all time. And this is another obviously crucial divisional week. 1-4 Ben Acestes take on the 2-3 Tom's Tyrants, so it's pretty close. Ben Acestes currently projected to win 125-88. Although I would put a caveat that Tom's Tyrants has not changed that lineup yet. So Ben Acestes, lineup changes. Brandon Marshall comes back into the lineup after coming off of his bye. Dante Moncrief drops to the bench. Mike Wallace also, I believe, returns to the lineup after his bye. And I think Chris Johnson heads back to the bench on Tom's Tyrants side of the ball. Unsurprisingly, since there is a bye player left in the lineup, I don't think they've changed their lineup yet. But Doug Martin will most likely swap out for Chris Ivory. Thoughts on this game?
you want to go first, Phil?
Yeah, okay. I think this is a really good game. I think this is definitely a challenger for Game of the Week. Bare Necessity. Both these teams have losing records, which is somewhat surprising, especially for the Bare Necessity side. I think it's going to be close. Obviously, Marston's going to go out, and they'll bring Ivory back in. Tom Tyrants, I mean. This game, I reckon, will be won and lost in the wide receiver position. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but Julio is obviously injury prone at the moment. Aiken and Snead are a bit of boom or bust plays. I think that's where it's going to be won or lost.
Yeah, it's interesting as well. Coming into this, although Bare Necessities has been robbed on numerous occasions, Tom Cyrus actually has the highest score of the entire league. He's got 538 points, so he's even beating Andy Delton red zone. And so, I mean, it speaks to somewhat to the extent of how they can score. Having said that, I'm not 100%. I mean, with Martin and Jones both looking a bit dodgy, I don't know whether he can actually pull out the big guns. But like you say, Phil, it's probably coming down to the wide receivers, and then on Bare Necessity side, Gronk, Marshall, Yeldon, Luck. I mean, pretty good. It's a pretty good side. So I think in this case, I'm going to give them Bare Necessities the edge on it, because I think they've just got a slightly superior matchup this week.
Yeah, I agree. And the fact that Bare Necessities now has got all the big guns back, Luck, Gronkowski, and now he's got Lewis in as well. I think that's probably just gonna win, and is looking dangerous going into the rest of the season.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll go with Bare Necessities too, so it's the trifecta. Apologies, Tom, it's not personal. So our next game here, Bedetne is against the Dream Team. This is another matchup that's not to be slept upon. Two struggling teams right now as well, so you expect this to be probably a close one. Bedetne is a 3-4 all time against the Dream Team. Both these teams coming off of a loss. Obviously, Bedetne is still leading the division at 3-2. The Dream Team right behind at 2-3. This is a very low projected game, and of that, I guess, would surprise no one. Currently 89-83. Lineup changes in this one. I don't think there have been any just yet on Bedetne's side, and again, Latavius Murray is on a bye, still in the starting lineup. So. Same for the Dream Team. I would anticipate McCoy to slide in if he's back. If not, Dan Herron will probably be the next guy up. So your thoughts on this game, Ben?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Obviously, if McCoy does come back, I'm definitely going to give the Dream Team the edge on this one, because I think that will tip the scales in their favour. I think Ollie does have a fairly strong team, but as we said earlier, I mean, I'm a little bit dubious as to how strong it is in the core, just from the fact that they haven't been able to turn up as many points. And if they do score somewhere in the 80s, I think there's definitely the opportunity for the Dream Team to storm past, really, because I do think they've got potential. I think they've just not been living up to it. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, my backing's probably the Dream Team, and especially if McCoy comes back, I think that would be a strong backing.
Cool.
I'm going to disagree with you, Ben.
Yeah, do it.
Respectfully.
Don't give a shit.
I think the Dream Team. I think the power rankings were fairly accurate with the Dream Team sort of being at the bottom of the pile. I think Bedetne has more of an upside at the moment than the Dream Team, because that team, especially at wide receiver, is not getting it done. Whereas, Macklin and Matthews for the Bedetinators, and even Kendall Wright have the opportunity for higher upsides than their counterparts. So I just think, and especially with Macklin as well, like now that Charles is down, he's going to get a lot more looks. Now Charles isn't going to be the center of that offense, so that's going to work in Bedetinators' favor.
Yeah.
This historically is actually a really big sort of game, and quite a good rivalry, but it's just been sort of soured a little bit by the starts for both of these teams. So I'm going to go by detonators, but it's going to be close, and I think it's going to be, as the projections point out, low scoring.
Yeah, I go with the detonators too. For whatever reason, every season we just see some teams that are able to win games, and I guess you could probably say that's been the detonators' start this season so far. 3-2, obviously, as Ben pointed out. Were they the lowest scoring team, did you say?
I don't know if they were the lowest, but they were
among the lowest.
430, and he was about 390.
Yeah,
something like that. So
from what I'm just checking now, it looks like he's the second lowest scoring. Oh no, third lowest scoring team. So wouldn't it be expecting a division winner to have that? But there we are. But yeah, I'll take him. I agree with everything that's said. I think the matchup is definitely very close. But go with where the wins are when in doubt, and that's what I'm going to do here. So our next game here, Pakistan against ADRZ. Obviously, this one's 0-0 all time, so whoever wins this takes the first win over the other. 2-3, Pakistan face off against the league, leading Andy Dalton Red Zone at 4-1. Projections have this one been mightily close, 113 to 110. On Pakistan's side of the ball, Marshawn Lynch comes back into the lineup. He should return this weekend. Isaiah Crowell kicks into RB2, and Alfred Morris comes out onto the bench. Eric Decker goes into the slot. On the ADRZ side of the ball, Frank Gore comes in, presumably as a replacement for the injured Jamal Charles. Eli Manning currently in at the start as well. We missed out on our analysis of his last week's game. He made the really gutsy call to go with him over Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is in fact no longer on the roster, so as Phil would say, I believe in Eli. So Ronnie Hillman also going into the starting lineup. He's at RB2 right now. Alan Hearn's going into wide receiver 2. Steve Smith coming in at the flex. The guys that dropped out, I believe, are Torrey Smith and Todd Gurley, who's on a bye. Thoughts on this game?
Sorry, Ben, you go.
No, I was going to say Nate.
Oh, right.
Never leads. I think he's just bullshitting every time. So, Nate.
You want me to lead? You want me to take this one? All right.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, go on.
All right. Yeah, no worries. So, sorry for Pakistan. So, Andy Dalton did you guys know Andy Dalton is the #1 quarterback in fantasy right now?
I did know that. I was shocked.
And he's playing Buffalo, who have not been stout against quarterbacks this year. He's got Marshawn Lynch coming back against Carolina. He's got Randall Cobb against San Diego, which, isn't anything to write home about, but Randall Cobb is a great player. And Keenan Allen has been a target hog as well. And Eric Decker has also been pretty efficient and pretty good, and he's playing a depleted Washington secondary. I know they've been struggling up till now, but I could definitely see a bounce back game on the cards. In the meantime, IDs is still reeling from the loss of Jamal Charles. Eli Manning faces Philadelphia, who, for what it's worth, their defense hasn't been that bad. Frank Gore is playing a softish New England defense, but the run D looked a lot better against Dallas last week, who have been pretty good running the ball so far. Ronnie Hillman's stuck in a committee on an inefficient running Denver offense. And Alan Hearns is playing, it's not a great Houston side, but he's had a few good weeks. So I don't know if that's sustainable. We'll see. And Steve Smith returns, but a 37, 36-year-old wide receiver with fractured vertebrae in his back or whatever it is, wouldn't be surprising to see if he wouldn't be that effective. I could actually see Pakistan stealing this one purely because ADRZ is in a little bit of flux right now. I think the matchups are on the cards for a nice bounce back week. How do I do? Good?
Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah? Okay. Anyone else agree, disagree? What? Can we move on?
I think, I do think it'll be a close game. Pat's not been doing amazingly week in, week out. I mean, he's had some good games, but he's also had some quite bad games. I'm still tempted to back ADRZ, to be honest. Simply for the fact that Frank Gore is a very good replacement, and we know that the rest of his team has been fairly consistent. And that's the thing; it's looking week in, week out. He's got nice, consistent scores. It's not necessarily 100% explosive, but it is really solid. So I would give it to ADRZ, but I would say this is one of the better weeks for Pat, or at least I expect it will be.
I cannot believe that Andy Dalton is the #1 quarterback. That's that's almost as shocking as the stat line that Josh McCown put up on last week. Like that's just ridiculous. I mean, oh man, that's really got me right. But
hey, he's representing gingers everywhere. You should be proud.
Absolutely, but it's Andy Dalton. He sucks.
Apparently not. Apparently,
Yeah,
he's
apparently not.
He's like the new era Peyton Manning. He's like a regular season hero, and then just shits the bed when January comes.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Anyway, anyway, for Pakistan, I think it's going to be the important thing for Pakistan here, and the sort of crucial thing in this matchup is what role is Marshawn Lynch going to play when he comes back? Is he going to have that expanded role? Bearing in mind he's just come back from injury, or are Seattle actually going to go with a sort of more of a committee approach? Because everyone will have noted that performance by rules on the weekend was really good, and does that split his carries? That's going to be an interesting thing, because other than that, especially his starting running backs, Crowell's not a good play against Denver, and Cobb and Allen. Cobb's a good start, but Allen is inconsistent. Richard Rodgers is touchdown dependent. Eric Decker's a good play, but there's not else much there. So he's sort of relying on Lynch getting, quite more than a few touches, which I would argue, based on the performance of Rawls, isn't that big. So I think I'm going to go with Andy Dalton's red zone because they're just a more reliable and consistent team.
Yeah, and on the Lynch point as well, I mean, we sort of expected Cam Newton to be a little bit muted this year because of the fact that he's lost some of his best wide receivers, but he has been still passing a fair amount, and that's going to bite into it as well. If they're committee and it's not coming their way every second play, you're likely to see even worse scores. So I don't know. We shall see.
I would make the point that you're not paying $10 million for Beast Mode to stand on the sideline and watch a guy called Thomas Rawls run the ball. So, but
if you're winning,
I think a better point would be that that O-line is struggling, akin to your receiver argument with Cam Newton, and that probably holds Lynch back a little bit more than it has done as well. So our next
40-point Cam Newton game, maybe.
Our next game here, Forge Flyers against Jeff Seals. The matchups in this one are the Forge Flyers of 1-0 against Jeff Seals. Forge Flyers 1-4. Jeff Seals are 3-2. Jeff Seals predicted to win this one, 129-116. Lineup changes in this one. Ryan Tannehill comes into the starting lineup as Tyrod Taylor is expected to miss this week. And Ryan Matthews is bumped into the flex in favor of... that's Rashard Matthews, has bumped into the flex in favor of Shel Sims, who's on a bye. On Jeff Seals' side of the ball, Alshon Jeffrey is back in the lineup for Tavon Austin, who's on a bye. However, if he doesn't play, they will obviously be searching somewhere else for a wide receiver. And Jordan Cameron comes in as the starting tight end. And Noel Davis also moves up to flex. So your thoughts on this game, Phil?
I think looking at this game, first look, I thought, this is not that an exciting matchup. It's a bit of a stinker compared to some of the other great games we got. But now I look at it, there's some quite sort of juicy matchups for both players on these teams.
Both players, I assume you mean Rodgers.
Rodgers, but he's got. Jeff Seals has got Edelman and Jeffrey now. He's got Le'Veon Bell. He's got Niall Davis, who will provide some points. You would have thought. It's always good play to play the defense. Plays Jacksonville, although Bortles was having a good season. For Forge Flyers, you got the unknown entity of Tannehill under a new coach, which should be interesting. I'm not even going to mention Devonta Freeman because my feelings about that. the ridiculousness. In fact, I'm going to say he's going to get 30 points this week.
Oh
I'm
my
going to
God.
reverse psychology to see, because he's got 94 points in the past 3 games. So be interested to see how he does this week, especially with his matchup against New Orleans. Calvin Johnson should bounce back. You would have thought. John Brown against Pittsburgh is a good matchup. This is going to be a close game. But I just feel that Forge Flyers are having one of those seasons again, a little bit like last season. They're better than they were last season.
Absolutely.
But I just don't see them being Jeff Seals now. They got all their big players back, and the fact that their sort of matchups are as good as they are.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with Jeff Seals.
Yeah, it's a bit ridiculous how good Jeff Seals' team is, considering how it was drafted. But he has been doing pretty well. And the good thing is that the projections aren't fucking him over. Although I suppose the team is now personified because it's technically just Nath putting random people in. But sometimes projections are a little bit dodgy, and you think, "Oh God, that's probably not right." But actually, I don't think there's anything I really disagree with on this matchup. Like you say, obviously some big players on Jeff Seals' side. Edelman, Rogers, Bell. I mean, we'll see. But I have a feeling that Jeff Seals is probably going to win. I think it might even be slightly generous on the projections on the Forge Flyers side. Bengals, maybe not. Has Jimmy Graham been playing all right? I swear I've been doing. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
He's been underperforming what you'd expect. So I don't know. Like we said, he's not putting together a fantastic team again this year. I think Jeff Seals will seal it. I don't think we'll get 130 points, but I think it'll be something like 110 to 95 or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to go with Jeff Seals too, as you said. And as I made the point when I admittedly mistakenly put Jeff Seals #1 in the power rankings 2 weeks ago, there was a reason for that, because their starting lineup, whatever you make of the rest of the team, the starting lineup is pretty damn good, and it's only got better, I would say, with the Jamal Charles injury, because obviously now they've got Niall Davis to use. If Jeffrey was healthy, which he might be this week, we don't know, this team would be formidable, I think, in a way. And as you correctly point out about Forge Flyers, definitely better than last season, but it's kind of another one of those seasons, things just not going his way. I think I'll go with Jeff Seals too. So
I think one thing you got to last sort of like point. Forge Flyers picked up Andre Johnson in the hope that he will do something. He won't do something. He won't do nothing.
We covered this earlier in the show, Phil. Don't worry.
You may have
he won't do nothing. Brilliant.
Right. Anyway, our last game here: IKNAN against the Romosexuals. So all time, IKNAN against the Romosexuals are 1-1. So split down the middle here. Projections have this one 124 to 109 in your favor, Mr. Sherwood. Your team is on a 3-game losing streak. I got the phrasing wrong in the power rankings, so I'll correct it here. No one would have expected your team to lose 3 games all season, let alone in a row. And on the Romosexuals side, they're 3-2 on a 1-game win streak. Lineup changes right now. Andre Ellington comes into the starting lineup for you over Matt Jones. And Anquan Bolden comes into the flex for Mike Evans, who is on a bye. On the Romosexual side, they are currently unchanged, but they'll need a kicker at some point. So your thoughts on this one? Let's start with you, Ben.
I've been admiring the Romosexuals team. We got Fitzgerald, so frankly, they're probably going to win the league. But in all reality, he has got a good team. Kelsey's been good. Beckham, Fitz has been putting in the points, which I'm pleased to see, so that everyone can believe the hype. However, if my team can actually fucking turn up on the day, which hopefully they will, I think I should win. But obviously, all of the projections are based on Antonio Brown, Demaryius Thomas, Ellington, Foster, everyone actually doing plus over 10 points. Yeah. And frankly, that hasn't been the case for a lot of the weeks. So as much as I am still optimistic, there's a point of pessimism and optimism, and I'm just teetering on optimism unless they start winning. Unless they start putting up the points which they say they will, which you'd expect of them, really my season's going in the shitter. So yeah, I think I'll tip me, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Roma Sexuals did actually win, because he's got a good team, and I've been underperforming.
Phil?
This is another really, really great game. Really, really close and full of big names and people who could explode. I don't think, IKNAN, you're doing that bad. You've been a little bit unlucky with sort of matchups and sort of injuries. I think, Antonio Brown is a big, his dip in form since Mike Vickers coming in is sort of a big factor in why your team has sort of dipped.
As is Peyton Manning's obvious decline for Demaryius Thomas, I would also point out. Absolutely, great point. So I don't think it's necessarily, if you lose this game, your season's over, because there's still a lot of games left, and you still have some of the best players in the league on your roster. So, I mean, looking at your starting lineup, there are some really good players here. I like, despite Antonio Brown going against Peterson, which is going to be a really tasty matchup. I still like that. I still like that matchup. You would think that Demaryius Thomas is going to have a big game this season just because of the talent he is. Foster, you finally seem to have cracked Foster at running back after a few dodgy weeks. Martellus Bennett against Detroit is a good matchup. And obviously the Broncos D and Goskowski is a certain 40 points for you there.
Exactly, no question.
But there are still some sort of areas where it's a little bit risky. Andre Ellington, you wouldn't think that with the amount of talent that Arizona have, that every one of their running backs is going to get the points they did last week. So Andre Ellington's a bit of a risk, and I'm not sure that Anquan Boldin has been consistent enough to get a start, even if his matchup is good. A bit of a risk there. And the Roma section
flexing Gio Bernard.
Yeah, I'd probably do that.
Yeah, that would be my plan. Not that I want to give you any advice, because you're my divisional rival and everything. But yeah, the Roma Sexuals, having a great season. They look really tough. Got again some really good players with some juicy matchups. I don't think I can call this. I think this is
a draw.
Yeah, this is going to be the closest game. I really think this is. Maybe that'll be my bold prediction. Maybe I'll challenge Tom. But I think I really can't call, because they both have some really good players with good matchups and some risks. So I'm going to say this is about even.
I'm going to go with IKNAN. So I think look, your team has had good weeks. It's lost, but it's been having good weeks in the midst of that. Philip Rivers at Green Bay isn't a great one, but other than that, I don't see other than maybe Antonio Brown against Arizona and Patrick Peterson, I don't see a formidable matchup, and there's actually a few cake ones there. Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Detroit.
I might be putting Cam Newton in, since he's going to get 40 points this week.
Quarterback controversy this week. I'm
always playing with these quarterbacks. It's hard.
Do what I did last season: decide on one, and then go on with the other one that you decided on. So that
is wrong. Yeah.
But on the other side of the ball, I definitely agree. The Roman Sexuals is a great team, but I just think this is it's a good time for IKNAN to face them. I'll put it that way. Joe Flacco had a pretty good week last week, if I remember, but he's also had a game where he got less than a point, and that, quite frankly, sums up Joe Flacco in a nutshell. and Carlos Hyde against Baltimore, that's a tough one. Larry Fitzgerald, I think defense has been locking in on him a little bit more. Hasn't had the same explosive games he had in weeks 2 and 3. Odell Beckham suffering that hamstring injury. I imagine he'll probably play, but, are we going to see him 100%? And Brandon Cooks as well. He had a good week last week, but outside of that, he's just been not good. I definitely think the Rome Six was a great team, but I just think this is a good time for IKNAN to play him. I think they take him the W this week.
What's definitely is going to happen is that Larry Fitzgerald is going to put up like a 30-point week and just like
Ben,
just spit in my face.
Yeah.
You could have had me. You chose Bolden, you cunt. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Come back to the fold. I'll trade everyone for you.
Right, okay, cool. So that's the end of the show. Week 6 will undoubtedly be another one. And if you haven't been keeping up with it, the Facebook message board, or the group chat, I should say, has been exquisite, may I point out. I did not anticipate it becoming as good as it has been, but I'm glad I made it. It's been great.
I've been it a couple of times.
Brilliant. Thanks for joining me, Coach Merritt, and the show. It's always good to have you. Probably one of the more entertaining podcasts we've had this season. I wish you the best of luck on Sunday, but not that much luck because I'm in your division, so fuck both of you. Good, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.